What's going on there, folks? Good evening. It's the Earthmaster back here on this Tuesday night. It is January 24th, 2023, about 9:57 p.m. here along the west coast. In California, a 3.1 earthquake showing up here. Looks like into the area north of the Costa Rica area. Latest earthquake on the globe. Also, a little bit of activity showing up on the Mount St. Helens station. It's a seismograph station I have keyed up right here. Little speck of an earthquake, as you guys can see. Nothing big, but either way, a little bit of activity. All right, let's go ahead and check out what's going on down here along this region. Well, the USGS not showing a whole lot at all, but as we look at the earthquake 3D map here, definitely looks like there's some 4s in the mix there, some 3s as well. And of course, this 3.1 coming in. See exactly where that's at. Looks like a Nicaragua area, 3.1, about 5 kilometers deep for that earthquake. But definitely overall, seismic activity appears to be increasing along the Middle America Trench area. South America region, aside from that pretty large 6.4 earthquake this morning, we did see some further earthquake activity, relatively shallow. Some 3s and 2s up here around the Peru-Chile Trench, just around the Chile area. Now a look at the USGS map here doesn't show that activity once again, but a little bit, 4.5 up north here into the area, 121 kilometers deep for that 4.5. 6.4 is the second large earthquake here in this region over the last week. Roughly about the same depth there of that earthquake, 6.8 on the 20th and a 6.4 earlier this morning. What does that mean? Well, definitely means the deeper area has seen some movement, but that should be noted that possibly to expect some larger activity upstream from the subduction zone areas. That would include areas around Chile and over here closer to the coast. Around the Puerto Rico region, a couple 3s. The latest earthquake shows a 3.0 over here just to the western side of Puerto Rico. Still seeing a little bit of movement up here around the Puerto Rico Trench. A couple earthquakes earlier today. A couple 3s popping off there north of the Virgin Islands area. All right, into the States area, around the Salt Lake City area north of there. 2.8 near Corrine, Utah. Never heard of it. 1.1 kilometer depth for that earthquake. Very shallow earthquake activity. It's been noticeably active up here north of the Salt Lake City area over the last week or so. There's the about 7 days magnitude map. Last 30 days in this area, though, shows a little bit more swarming up here northwest of Logan and outside of this area down here to the south. Yellowstone National Park, a little clutter up here on the map today, I would say. Now, there's nothing big. It's just USGS is reporting some of the microquake activity, which is, I mean, they get to it eventually, right? But it seems like they're on par right now to, well, at least reporting that smaller earthquake activity. And there's not a whole lot. There is the 6.4 down into the Argentina area, South America region this morning. But it looks like there's a little handful of earthquakes here over the last few hours. And let's see, when did that cut off? 05:30? That's about right, I would say. Either way, definitely some activity kicking up here this morning time period. Again, nothing. Let's see where I can find our latest map here. Nothing major, just a couple handful of small earthquakes. The largest one, a 1.2, just east of the Hebgen Lake Estates. Pacific Northwest, relatively minor activity around Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens. Of course, we did see that activity showing up here on the seismograph station. And also, a couple listed up here throughout the last 24 hours. Some very small quakes popping off there into Mount St. Helens area. Northern California, down here on the southern end of the Cascadia, still seeing some movement, including a couple 2s out there. one relatively deep, 23 kilometers, and a subsequent shallower earthquake activity. This area has definitely been very active here in terms of deeper movement and just a lot of earthquake activity here at the southern end of the Cascadia Cascadia megathrust area. See if I can spit that out right. Had a little blank there for a second. It's been a long day still. Got a lot of schoolwork on my mind, and oh man, almost overloaded here today. There's some activity off the coast of Oregon that we seen yesterday. So overall, seismic activity on the increase here at the southern end of the Cascadia. And the latest tremor map tonight kind of confirms my suspicion of regional activity on the increase. This is the tremor map, 317 epicenters of tremor on a broader scale tonight outside of Seattle, around Medford, Oregon, northwest of Medford, Oregon, and also Northern California, the prime spot here for increasing tremor activity. Now this kind of tells us that the Juan de Fuca plate here as a whole is being shoved further and further underneath the North American plate. That's what that tremor activity is detecting. Now these are not earthquakes, but a slow vibrational earthquake, if you will, slow vibrational frequency being picked up by a couple of these stations. And that would explain the earthquake activity continuing around the southern end of the Cascadia. So we'll continue to watch this and monitor that for some activity. Rest of Northern California, relatively quiet. The Bay Area, not seeing any major swarm. There's still some activity outside of Gilroy, it looks like. A couple very small earthquakes into the area. Ridgecrest region seeing a handful of earthquakes tonight as well. A couple very small microquakes. And the Southern California area, not a whole lot popping off here. Still very quiet, although look at this little sequence of earthquakes right smack dab on the San Andreas Fault. 17, 12, and 9 kilometers deep. Notice that right there on the plate boundary, so we'll watch that. I do pay attention to swarms out here around this plate boundary because this is where they talk about the big one happening. 8.1 magnitude earthquake here for SoCal in its future. So we got to watch this and see how this plays out. There's no swarming, but there is some activity here northwest of the Desert Hot Springs area on the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. Let's see. There's that 2.8 Utah area. Let's see what else we have here. Western Texas, outside of Pecos, Texas, some 2s and 3s as well. Today, one little earthquake outside of the OKC area. Man, seen a tornado touchdown around the Deer Park, Texas area, Pasadena region, around the Houston area today. Pretty crazy, but we are, we're venturing into that time frame where severe weather kicks up. Puerto Rico Trench, some, again, general activity up here north of the Virgin Islands region, South America. We covered that. Not a whole lot going on further south or throughout the southern Pacific Ocean area. Now into the New Zealand area, 3.7 here at the southern end of the Alpine Fault, I believe that is. Also some activity in North Island, New Zealand. Nothing major going on there across the area, but let's go ahead and check that out real quick and see what we have across the area tonight. 2.6, 2.8, little small earthquake activity out there. Of course, very common to see smaller quakes. There's that 3.7 way down south here, about 12 kilometers deep. I'm not seeing any major swarm or any unusual activity currently happening there across the area. The volcanic drums kind of confirms that. There's definitely not a whole lot popping off here across New Zealand area. A couple very small quakes, that's about it. They're registered tonight. Alaska area, movement generally in its typical zone here across the Cook Inlet up through the Denali region, not seeing any major unusual activity, although a noticeable increase in activity, it looks like, up around the Fairbanks area. But these are generally very small earthquakes. But it looks like you're starting to push a little bit of earthquake activity up north into that area. Now, the western areas here around the Pacific Plate, 5.2 here in just off the coast of Japan, 39 kilometers for that earthquake. Some other activity over here into the Russia region along the plate boundary, and also earthquake here into the subduction zone of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. Still waiting for some potential movement here along this area of the subduction zone. Izu Trench activity, pretty deep, 4.6, 507 kilometers deep. Now we've got to watch this potentially here for some further movement upstream along that area of the Izu Trench. Continued cluster of earthquake activity here around the Molucca Sea. I want to bring up the last 30 days of activity in this swarming area. Specifically this area, it's just been rocking and rolling since that 7-pointer kicked off here. Back on the 17th, we've seen that 7-pointer come in. Since then, been rocking and rolling with quite a few 4s and 5s. A total tally for this area shows about 66 earthquakes. That's actually fairly impressive and quite numerous here for a 7-pointer. A little bit of activity upstream, 5.2 coming in here. Overall seismic activity heightened throughout the area. Java Trench awfully quiet. Check out the EMSC model here real quick, and that confirmed. EMSC not reporting anything across the Java Trench. One little earthquake here, a little 2.9 into our kind of like the northern end of our watch area. I remember we've been watching this area about the northern end of the Java Trench throughout the Myanmar area and across portions of India, Himalaya regions as well for some seismic activity. Got a little 2.9 in there currently. There is a 4.3. I don't believe this earthquake was showing up into the Russia area. Way up here, way away from the plate boundary. 5.6 Nepal. That one was coming in, looks like just after midnight. Now, let's see what's going on here. I see it listed on the flat scale model, but nothing being reported here on the globe. It's a little on the odd side, I would say. Let me see, just after midnight. There we go. It wasn't quite on the 24-hour threshold. And now we're back on tune. Looks like some activity around the Mediterranean region. The Atlantic Ocean, very quiet from north to south. Not a whole lot popping off there currently across the area. USGS, though, showing some of that activity around Mediterranean region with a 5.3 and a 4.0 coming in earlier this afternoon. So kind of on a... definitely noticing a little upward trend here of earthquake activity. I'm going to have to watch that throughout the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. All right, space weather activity. Our massive sunspot region, 3190 has departed the Earth-facing view. Well, technically still kind of see that a little bit here. Massive sunspot, and we're left with a whole lot of nothingness across the disk of the sun. There's not any major solar flare threat currently. There is a little bit of solar flare activity coming in right now as we speak. Notice that on the global delayer map there. Looks like we're increasing here in intensity over the past, about the early afternoon, evening time frame. Peeking up maybe into the inflare category. Now, I'm not for certain exactly where this is coming from. Looks like right here, this one's starting to flare a little bit. That is, again, facing well away from Earth, but it is flaring. Notice the bright intensity Definitely not coming from any of these Earth-facing sunspots, but more so from that departing sunspot region, which is, which one is that? 3192 over here. So yeah, activity kicking up as it faces away from Earth. We're looking at some very quiet conditions here for the space weather. No major coronal holes and no major space weather predicted here for the auroras. Things are fairly minimal across the forecast areas currently. Quick glance here at the weather. Of course, I know the storm system bringing in some severe weather threats down into portions of the south. And, man, crazy. So overall threat here, that's going to continue working its way eastward. And it looks like some colder temperatures building behind that. Now, the next threat for severe weather, you notice these colder systems coming down from the north, interacting with the somewhat warmer air down here around Texas. Potentially around Saturday into Sunday again, there's a severe weather threat potential. So pay attention out there. It's getting to that time of year where things could get very active. As far as the West Coast activity, let's go ahead and check this out real quick. This is on Sunday. Got a little system dropping down out of the north, bringing in a lot of cold air. Now, these are relatively dry storms, but they do bring in some snowfall at the higher elevations. And looks like that's going to scoot down south, followed up by potentially a wetter system once again here for Northern California. I'm kind of liking the looks of that. So we definitely need some more rain. And it appears as though this is going to open up that storm door for Northern California once again into portions of at least the first couple weeks here in the February. We'll see how that plays out. Alrighty, I think that's about it. Brain overload about to commence. Oh, goodness. But hey, yeah, for those of you that don't really know, taking some college classes here, been in it since the last summer, or summer of last year. Went through the fall courses, and now we're entering into the spring semester. We started on Monday, and of course today was the second day. Things are going pretty good, but fairly active. They're starting this semester off with a bang, so to speak. So just kind of relaxing from that, attempting to anyway. Let's see what else we have out here. I think that's about it, folks. There's a severe weather threat here. Current day 1. Enhanced risk across portions of the southern areas there. I mean, there's a good chance of tornado activity down there in the jungle as well. Goodness, 15%, 30% chance possibility of wind. Hail damage, not so much, just a 5% chance, but things are going to be rocking and getting crazy down there for the folks in the Louisiana area, it looks like. So stay safe out there. I know there's you can only do so much, right? Best is to be prepared and keep a positive mindset. Alrighty, I think that is it, folks. Have a good one. Stay safe out there. I am canceling out the West Coast Earthquake Watch for now. We've stopped the swarming as far as the movement around the Bay Area. And I could actually leave that up for months and years at a time, and eventually that may be correct. But I'm one to kind of focus on unusual activity, such as the swarming activity on the San Andreas Fault. Therefore, that's why it would issue an earthquake watch for that area. But things appear to be calming down for now along the west coast. We still have the Cascadia subduction zone going with the tremor and activity into Northern California, but we're lacking the swarming. Anytime a swarm kicks up, you bet we're going to keep an eye on it. But for now, things are calming down slightly along the west coast. All right, guys, have a good night. Stay safe. We'll chat you guys sometime tomorrow. Make sure you guys, of course, share this video, subscribe while you're here. Most of our, actually, about what's my viewership here? I think I got about 55% subscribers that watch the majority of my videos. The rest are unsubscribed or not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed to this channel, please do. Make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell for daily updates on earthquake activity, space weather events, and whatnot. So while you're here, might as well. All right, guys, we'll catch you guys a little bit later on. Have a good night.